Welcome to QSR Nation, your weekly dose of food service marketing tips and business strategies for success. Here's your hosts, Josh Anderson, Beth Oots, and Anthony Pierce from the PFSbrands National Headquarters.
Hey everybody, welcome back to QSR Nation. As always, we have Josh, Beth, and Tony here at PFSbrands National Headquarters in Missouri to talk about food service marketing and business strategies for success. Today, we have part 2 of our interview with John McElroy, the Director of Customer Success at PFSbrands. And last week we talked about the why, and this week we're going to talk about the who. So John, you just kind of want to go into there from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we're going to talk about some specific processes that you can put in place to try and have not only a sustainable experience for your customers, but also make it scalable as you grow. But the best process in the world is going to fail if you don't have the right people that are executing it. That's really what's going to make or break any experience. Is going to be the people that you bring in, and that's a critical component. And so I don't want to overlook that as far as getting the right person or the right team in place to make sure that you can provide a great experience again and again.
Exactly. Your people are key. And we've discussed this many times on a lot of these different podcasts that you can have an excellent product, but whenever you don't have someone that's going to be at the deli case or anywhere in any type of service, if you just have someone that's just super rude or doesn't have any kind of care in the world as to why it's affecting the business or even just their own job, you're not going to have that loyalty. You're not going to have the customers coming back, and you're just going to lose that money. And, as owners, you want to just keep hearing the dollar bills just keep coming in. You don't want to hear the dollar bills going out the door and hearing your competitor across the street having all the business that you just lost.
Yeah, and your brand is not your sign. It's not your logo. Your brand is the people that are servicing and taking care of your. That is really your brand. And so, if that's not something that you're really putting forth your due diligence to ensure you have the right people, all the other stuff that's on the edges is not going to have any impact, because the core thing is that experience that your customers are having. So, really, it's about getting A players, and in dealing with retailers, this is a chronic, probably the number one piece of feedback that we get from our retail partners, and that's we just can't find people. We can't find A players, and we hear that time and time again. And almost to the point that some people have almost taken a defeatist attitude about it. Like they just have almost given up. And there are actually some retailers I'm aware of that they outsource their staff to a staffing company, which, that's the worst case scenario. You have no idea. You have no control at that point who's coming in the door to take care of your customers. So I guess what I would start off by saying is there are absolutely A players for every different type of job category. And many times when it comes to food service or retail, there's almost like a giving up, we just got to take a person that's breathing and we're going to hire them. And you cannot, you're going to make your life so much more difficult as a retail owner if you're not the gatekeeper to ensure who's coming in and out of your retail store. So there are A players out there. And once again, just think about whenever you go to, once again, just fill in the blank, big box store, whatever. We've all had the experience where you go through the line and the person checking you out, almost like you feel like they're disgusted that you came in, all you are is more work for them. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we've all had experiences where you go into the fill in the blank big box store and you go through the cash out process, and the person says, "Hey, how was your visit today? Did you find everything you were looking for?" There's that interaction. That's an A player. That's somebody that's going the extra mile. They're engaging that customer. They're making sure that they got everything that they needed when they came through there. And that's at all levels. Whether you're running a landscaping business, there are A players out there that want to do that. Mm-hmm. There are A players that want to work in food service. There's A players that want to work at a corporate setting. There are A players at all levels, and they're out there and they want to be a part of a great work environment. But there has to be some due diligence to identify those people. And there's some tools that we can talk about that will do that. I think, first of all, you have to identify what an A player is. I think an A player is somebody that they're not like a mindless robot, but they understand the rules and they follow them. Right? They're not always going to be trying to find shortcuts. And I think really if I was going to try and summarize it in one statement, it would be an A player or someone that they do the right thing when no one's watching. Uh-huh. That's an A player.
Agreed.
You can trust them. They're going to take care of the customer. They don't have to have constant supervision. They're going to be proactive. They're going to do the right thing when nobody's around there forcing them to do it. That's an A player. And there's people out there that have that skill set. They want to be a part of a great work environment. And then what the responsibility of their retail owner is to cultivate that environment, cultivate that culture, and get away from this defeatist, well, they just can't find them. The example I always like to refer to is you've ever seen these guys that work up in Seattle, Fisherman's Wharf, and their job title. I love it. Their job title is fishmonger. Can you think of a worse job title? They're like, if somebody asks you what you do,
I'm a fishmonger.
I'm a fishmonger. I
throw on the business card.
Yeah, I throw around dead fish all day. I mean, could you imagine a worse job in the world? And I struggle to think of something that would be worse than that to do. However, if you ever go to and it's in San Francisco, it's in Seattle. What these amazing people have done is they've taken this very unappealing job that no one would ever want to do, and they've turned it into a destination point for visitors, for tourists. People will get up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning to go down to this fresh seafood market and watch these guys throw around fish and tell jokes and have a great time. And I love to tell that example because if they can do it, if a person that's what their reality of their work life is every day, if they can take that and say, you know what, we can be miserable about this, we can have a horrible day, we can all be mad and be angry at each other, or we can turn this into a dynamic experience that people actually will come in droves to watch us do, then you can do that anywhere. That can be done at any type of job. It's not about the job, it's about the attitude that you bring to it every day. But once again, as a retail owner, you have to control that. You have to take ownership for who you hire. You have to take ownership for the culture that you've created in that retail store. And you can't expect to be attracting A players if you've created an environment that is all top down. It's very much like you're going to do what you're told, don't ask questions. Nobody wants to work in that environment. The people want to have autonomy. People want to have the power to make decisions and influence change. And I guarantee you, those guys working in that Fisherman's Wharf there in Seattle, they were only able to do that and change that work dynamic because they had people that gave them power to do it. They were empowered to, hey, let's throw a fish instead of moving it over there with a cart or whatever, and let's make this fun. And that's what a retail owner has to do. So you have to identify those A players, and then you have to determine, and this is key. You have to determine the advantages that your retail store has over the competition when you're trying to attract the best talent. So once again, what we hear many times is, well, we can't compete with that factory down the road because they pay $4 or $5 more an hour than we do. And if that's your mindset, then you're going to lose every time. You're playing the wrong game. You're trying to compete on a per hour wage when that's really not what you can offer. That's going to be different from what that factory can offer. What you have to think about is when you work in a factory or whatever, any kind of processing, production type environment, that many times we're in competition for the same type of people to work. That is a very, mind-numbing type of a job. You're just doing the same thing day after day, nonstop, working on some assembly line, attaching something or whatever. And it's not very fulfilling. You can, in a retail environment, create a great engaging culture where they can have interaction with customers. You can institute mini games. You can have competition. You can make it fun. You can empower those people. Now, you have to establish the guidelines, right? You have to establish the rules of the road, if you will. But then cut them loose and let them have fun. And I think you'd be amazed at the creativity that's there you can tap into. And once you have that kind of a culture, you're going to start attracting more people that come in and they see it. And they're like, that seems like a great place to work. And the money is not the most critical thing. Time and time again, surveys. Now, there's a certain living wage people have to have. But time and time again, surveys have shown that what's really most important to people is not the money. It's about the fulfillment they have when they go to work every day, about being respected, about the empowerment, the autonomy that they have. All those things are much more impactful or important for people, especially A players, and those are the people that you want to attract and grow your business with.
And that's absolutely true. I mean, and I'm going to toot our own horn just a bit for a minute because, I mean, I'm wearing, my branded, shirts. I go into a gas station, here locally, and, I have people there say, "Are you guys hiring?" And I said, well, we were always looking for the right people, And I said, well, I see your people come in here all the time. You guys always seem like you're just happy, you're excited, And if you ask, what are you guys doing? Oh, I'm heading off to work, And they pick up on that. They pick up on the excitement. They pick up on the pride, and and that's something that is attractive. That they're interested in being a part of something that they don't have where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they see that environment, and it definitely is an attractable piece.
So really quickly here, John, you said there's some tips and tools that we can use to kind of find these A players. You want to describe some of that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple different processes. I think first of all, your traditional ad in the paper application process. I almost think like resumes and applications are almost worthless. Because you're only hearing exactly what the people want. The people want it.
It's very, very true.
Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, they're and
Highlight reel.
exactly. So those are almost, to some extent, they're almost worthless, other than just the contact information, right? How do we get in touch with you if we want to have that follow up? But I think just to maximize your time as an employee, as a retail owner, man, it's well worth your time to invest 2 minutes and have a very quick conversation with that person, and keep it simple. Just say, hey, tell me about you, and just stop and let them talk. And if all they say is, well, I mean, that's a red flag right away. This is somebody that's not going to be engaging. They're not going to take care of your customer. And you can quickly filter through those people. Secondly, you are doing yourself a huge disservice if you are not properly vetting every one of these candidates. And what I would say is, if you have that quick phone interview with somebody, I would put the onus on them to say, okay, listen, if we're going to move forward, I need 3 things from you. I need you to give me your past 3 employers, and I need the best contact number. I'm not going to call 411 and track somebody down. It's your job to get me contact for your last 3 employers. And then once you get that information, you have to invest. It's well worth your time to invest 15 minutes and call those 3 people. You're going to save yourself so many headaches down the road. If you're able to identify and weed through some of those people that maybe aren't going to be an A player. So I think it's it's not an easy thing, but it's something that it's well worth. Let's say in that process of a 2-minute phone interview and then 15 minutes calling up and getting some referrals, you've invested less than 20 minutes of your time to identify an A player. That's well worth the effort to make sure you get the right person on your team. And then from that point, after you've identified that A player through a quick phone call, through checking on those references, and on the reference thing, I think there's always some concern about people like, well, how much can I ask legally and everything. I think whenever you reach out to those people for that reference, I think it's have an honest conversation. Hey, listen, the worst thing we could do is hire fill in the blank, John Smith. If we hire him and he's not a good fit, it's going to be bad for him because we're going to have to let him go, and it's going to be bad for us. Man, could you give us 5 minutes of your time and just give us an honest assessment and let us know, is he going to be a good fit for our team? And I think you'll be surprised how willing the people are. If they know that's where you're coming from a genuine place, you want to take care of this person, you don't want to get them in a bad spot, to get some good information, and then create a good culture once they come on board.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wow.
There's just some great tools and tips, and we truly appreciate your time that you spent with us today just to talk about the art of giving great service. You're fantastic at what you do, and if anyone ever has any questions or just want to get some more information about this, they can always contact you. Do you have a specific number that they can reach you at?
Well, I think the best way to reach out to us is through our email address. We have an email address, customer.success@pfsbrands.com. And that's probably the best way to get in contact with us. But we'll absolutely be happy to partner with anybody and provide our resources.
Awesome.
All right, that was awesome. Amazing stuff from John. Once again, thank you very much for coming by. And for everybody else from QSR Nation, we'll talk to you next week.
Stop by next week for another QSR Nation episode or visit pfsbrands.com.